Here we are.
Here we are.
We're back on the couch.
Oh, feels good. Feels good.
So this episode is going to the world November 20th.
Yeah.
The week of Thanksgiving. And I think they just heard you and I like 2 weeks ago, right? But the truth is, to everyone listening, it's been months since Kira and I have recorded together. Remember, any episode previously was like pre-recorded. And so it's so good to be back on this couch with you.
I know, it is. It feels so damn good.
Can you think of how much life has passed since we, like, all the life that's happened since we recorded?
A lot of life.
So, I mean, like, we were dating ourselves at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still dating myself. I'm never not going to date myself, even if I'm ever married, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it feels like a whole different chapter in my life.
It was.
May.
It
Same
was.
with you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally different chapter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's Thanksgiving week. And what I wanted to do this week is to record an episode in honor of Thanksgiving on the thing I am the most grateful for. And I know that this is also the thing that you are the most grateful for.
Yeah.
And that's motherhood. Like the divine role, like the blessing, the gift that we have to not only create these babies, but raise them.
Yeah.
And just talk about what it means to us. I really also want to dive into some of our struggles, because I know for me, maybe on Instagram, it looks perfect.
Yeah.
Right. And what we give maybe a couple minutes a day, but it's been a struggle. And it's been a struggle because I have had to learn some really difficult lessons over my years of being a mom. And I feel like one of the purposes of this podcast is to let women, men, whoever, let moms this week, whenever, see into some of my biggest regrets, and most vulnerable moments.
Yeah.
So that they can maybe avoid some of the mistakes that I've made and the pain that's come along the way, you know?
Well, and I also think, I didn't know this was going to make me emotional, but
I know
motherhood is lonely.
Ooh.
Especially in the young years, especially if you're a single mother. And so not only will this episode maybe help people with what they're going through, but mostly make them not feel alone.
Help women and moms feel seen and heard.
Yes.
And supported.
Yeah.
Because I think while you feel alone, to anyone listening, maybe this will help you know that you're not. It's almost a silent network.
Oh,
you know?
Oh, it is. It is. It's a silent network.
Connected by God. Like we are all connected through God. But I think, like with God, you have to have faith that it exists and faith that it's going to pan out, because so far it has.
Yeah.
Like so far for me. I mean, my oldest is 18. So what do I know? Like, I don't know anything until they get in their 20s, 30s, 40s. But like, yeah, I wonder if we should, that you just spoke something that reminded me of an Instagram post that I read recently.
Yeah.
Should I read it?
Yeah, let's read it.
It's really good. So this Instagram post is from someone that I follow named Emily Bell Freeman. And she posted a photo of her. I think this is an older post, and it was resent to me by a really good friend of mine who's also a mom and a grandma. And I look to this woman for so much support and so much advice, because motherhood's hard.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to feel like I'm okay. Like I'm not really effing my kids up.
Right.
So she sent me this post in a moment where I was questioning my worthiness as a mom. What a theme of my life. I feel like I'm always questioning my worthiness, right?
Yeah.
So this post from Emily Bell Freeman, it was a photo of her in black and white, looking very I thought beautiful, but like when I say beautiful, it's beautiful because it was messy.
Yeah.
It was very feminine, and to be feminine is to be messy. And it was, didn't look like she had makeup on, and she looked
disheveled.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
And Emily, if you're listening, you looked beautiful. So I am careful with the words.
but it's like, that's actually motherhood.
That's it.
Motherhood is disheveled. It's like, it is.
Which runs against all of my wiring because I am I need things in order. And I think that's why I sometimes have anxiety and feel like I'm not doing it well enough, because disheveled is like, in my brain, I say something's wrong with me. Because I'm not put together.
Which is interesting because chaos is my magic. Like organization is so out of my realm. So I actually thrive in disheveled because it's my magic. But like my life is very unorganized. I could use you in my life, Heidi.
Well, okay, but you just said something. What if?
Yeah.
What if chaos is also my magic?
I think it is.
And what if I'm fighting it by trying to be organized and perfect and good at everything? And so I am causing myself unnecessary stress and feelings of self-doubt and negativity that I'm not enough as a mom because my dishes are in the sink. And like, I have been wired and trained.
Yeah.
As a child, I was, because my mom was so neat. Yeah. Like I had to clean the toilet 3 times in a row. Mom, I love you. But like literally, I'd be like, I don't even see what she sees. I'd clean it. And she'd be like, there's still urine back there. I'm like, where? So I clean it again. She's like, you missed it. So it's like, and I have over time taken that on. Or with my kids, I'm like, how do you not see the mess? Well, I did the dishes in the sink. I'm like, there are dishes in the sink. Well, that one's not mine. What do you mean? You did all the dishes, but the ones that weren't, you're like, I don't even understand. So I'm fighting. What if I'm fighting my wiring?
Interesting. I actually feel like could be very accurate because
I am having a moment right now.
Yeah, I can feel it.
Because I have chills.
Yeah, I know.
Remember, I have been told that I have more masculine.
Yeah.
I think with the masculine has actually come order. And I'm a very orderly, take charge kind of a woman because I was raised with 3 boys and a very alpha dad. So it's all that I knew to be enough. I learned in a book, I was reading this book called Captivating. Captivating. It's, I can't remember the subtitle. It's like basically the mystery and the beauty of a woman, like divine. And it's a biblical book. It was in a Bible study.
I gotta read that.
It woke me up. Yeah. Kira, I started reading it in December or January.
Yeah.
It woke me up.
Yeah.
And it actually in the book had said, to be feminine is to be messy and chaotic. And that's what's so beautiful. And to be feminine is to rest. And to be feminine sometimes is to surrender. So it was what I needed.
Okay, so can I tell you something?
Yeah.
This is super not about motherhood. Well,
here's the thing it is.
Okay, all right.
But this is the magic.
Okay.
This is the chaos.
You're right. This is, okay. So I help people write books every day of my life.
Which I don't get. How do you do
every
that?
day of my life. And I have one phrase that I say every time I coach. Okay. Because here's what happens is that people go in to write books, which it can go in anywhere. Creation is creation. You're going to write a book. You're going to do a podcast. You're going to help your kids with their birthday party. It doesn't matter. Creation's creation and creation is chaotic. And so I always say, first of all, I have 2 phrases. One, you never walk into a forest and see the trees lined up perfectly.
Oh, my hell.
You never walk into a forest and see the red flowers bunched together.
Oh, my hell.
Creation is chaos, Heidi. But here's what happens with creation is that people try and take it and they, especially when people are writing books, we're going to put it in outline. We're going to format it. And how many words does this need to be? And this is my phrase that I say every damn day. You've never wanted to do dishes in the middle of an orgasm. So stop doing dishes in the middle of creative orgasm. Stop it. Because it's messing with your magic.
That might be the best thing I've ever heard.
And so I always just say, stop doing dishes.
And definitely don't do dishes in the middle of an orgasm.
But creation's the same energy, and chaos is the same energy when it's channeled into creation. Here's how it ties together.
Yeah.
Is that to be a mother, whether you birth the child from your body or you are a mother to you adopted, you are in the realm of creation. So we are all divine creators as women. We innately are. And so it is the same conversation. It's like we're trying to put barriers and boundaries on creation.
It is. And I actually feel like, so I had an entire creation episode I was going to do, but the reality is, and in it, what I wanted to talk, I listened to this wonderful talk. I've told you about this before we started today. This wonderful church talk / sermon. And it was, Elder Uchtdorf who did it. And he was saying, he actually had said, it was almost like the keys to happiness, right? And what he said in there, and I loved it, is he said, the key to your happiness is you are made in God's image. Like we are his children, Heavenly Father, whatever it is, God, however you want to see God creator, we are made in the image, right? And there's parenthood there. And so whatever makes God happy would make us happy. And what makes God happy are two things: creation, because she is creation. Yeah. Like every creation is God, right? Yeah. And compassion. Yeah. Which is service. And this whole talk or this whole thing that I listened to was so beautiful, because for me, that is always my key to unstuckness too, is remembering, you got me unstuck by reminding me to start this podcast that I am divinely, this is not unique to me. I am divinely made to create. Yeah. Like as a female, as a human, but I'm going to talk to us moms right now. I am wired to create. And when I'm not in creation, I am dying, is what you said to me. I know. And also we are divinely wired to serve and to be compassionate. And when we are not in creation and compassion, we are going to feel stuck. We're going to feel not enough. And if you think about motherhood, that is the ultimate creation. It is. Our bodies. Yeah. We don't have to do anything. Yeah. But have an orgasm. We don't even need an orgasm, right?
And the body creates a baby.
Like it is mind blowing to me. So I've had 4 babies. You've had 5. Yeah. I had my first 2 babies with an epidural. Yeah. And my last 2 without. And what I have said about those experiences is they are both sets, because I've kind of had 2 sets of kids, Maddox and Marley. 5 years later, Cash and Ruby, 2 different dads. Yeah. I've had 2 go arounds at being a mom. Yeah. And it's amazing. But that first set where I hadn't, what do you call that?
C-section.
No. Epidural.
It's coming.
Epidural.
It's coming. I did have an epidural 5 times.
I definitely did not have an orgasm when I was having a baby.
I heard that some people can.
What?
Strange. That's another conversation.
Well, I will say,
but the epidural.
The sounds, like, because the last 2 I had without an epidural.
How did you do that, Heidi?
Mind over matter. I'll explain it because it's awesome. When you do not feel the pain, okay, and your body is numb. For me, when my body was numb, I was very attuned to the magic of my body creating a human. I was like, why? Because it was like I was disconnected from my body.
When you could feel or couldn't
when I could not feel.
Oh, interesting.
Because I could see it happening. Yeah. But it was almost as if it wasn't my body. So I was like, what a miracle. Yep. I just made this baby. Yeah. Right. So I was able to make my babies. I just ate healthy. I, worked out. Yeah. I took care of it the best that I could. But then the next go around, so when I did no epidural, the magic for me was in my body's ability to withstand hard things. Wow. Right. So the first time it was like, wow, I created this.
Yeah.
And like it was about this creation, right? So it was focused on the creation, the baby. The next go around was, wow, I am a majestic being.
Yeah.
God made this body to endure all of this.
Yeah.
That, yes, produced this baby, but they both had such beautiful epiphanies for me and like different things to appreciate.
Yeah.
And then creation doesn't stop there.
No.
When we're in the home.
Yeah.
We are the ultimate creators right now of who these children currently are and who they will forever be. Yes, they have agency, but I firmly believe, and I've been more aware of this over the past year and a half, which is why I've totally shifted directions. Who I am to them now, or who I'm not to them now, will determine the set of, it will, I don't want to say it's going to determine them. It will, right? But who I am to them now or who I'm not to them now will, I don't want to say it's going to like ruin them, but I want to know that as a mom, I gave them everything I possibly could.
Yeah.
And I don't have any guilt because I do believe that kids and humans and we all can turn out really great despite what our circumstances are or how we're raised. Because I've seen some of the best people that I know are a product of some really hard parental childhood circumstances.
Yeah.
But I know that I have one chance to give my kids the tools that I know I'm capable of giving them.
Yeah.
And I don't want to mess that up. I don't want to piss that away.
I'm going to have a counter conversation on this.
I want to hear.
Okay. Because so I think we kind of have a little bit where most of our paths have been pretty identical.
You and I. Yeah.
Mothering hasn't.
Isn't that interesting? Well, okay.
In the sense of this, that for the first 15 years of my children's life, I wasn't a working mom. And so I gave them all that I had, but I would say I was very controlling.
Okay.
I was very controlling because they were all that I had my focus on.
Yeah.
And talk about controlling creation. Creation is chaos, like we just said. So if we've created these children, it's actually, they're meant to feel like chaos. Like they're meant to walk their own paths. And as this mother that I wanted to do everything right and I wanted to protect them and I wanted to make sure that they had, because I kind of had some pretty rough things happen to me as a kid.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, I will keep them safe and I will protect them and I will do everything I can. And becoming a working mother was the best gift that happened to us because I released my grip. And instead, it's like I let their chaos free.
And you let them be who they're meant to be.
I let them.
You took
walk
them out of their cages.
Yes, I let them walk the paths that their soul is asking to walk.
You're right.
Yeah,
we have actually been a flip-flop of each other, and this is, I think, what makes us sitting here talking about this today so great, because we are going to have women listening who are in one of our two spots.
Yep,
right.
Agreed.
You did start. And for most of their lives, you were that stay-at-home mom who did not work and poured into.
Yeah.
And now you are a badass entrepreneur, chasing your dreams, showing your kids what is possible for them, like showing them what it looks like to not abandon who you are for anybody else. And I will say this, you are loving them in the most beautiful way all the way through. I'm witness to this and I love it. Yeah. And then on the flip, for the first 18 years of my kids' lives.
Yeah.
I mean, truly just up until right before Maddox turned, I guess Dave passed on Maddox's birthday. And, so I guess how incredible is that? that on my son's 18th birthday, the most tragic thing that could happen is what had me jumping from being that working mom full time, because I was all in for 18 years. Yeah. All in.
I know.
Popping babies out as we're shooting the show, doing photo shoots. Like, I mean, I was negotiating in my hospital bed. There was never a break because I did not believe I was lovable if I was not accessible and working hard and showing people that, like, I did not love who I was. Right. And while I tried to give all to my kids that I could, and I tried to roll them into, I'm giving you guys some really hard truths and some of my regrets right now. And also I believe everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to be, because I never did not love every bit of my kids. I never did not try to give them, and I had a lot of mom guilt the entire time because I was trying to do it all and be it all so I could be validated. And then February 11th, 2023 happened. I had a great birthday with Maddox. And then that night is when Dave passed. And so it's like I woke up on the 12th, the day my son turned 18. I woke up and made a decision that I will never, ever, 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 ever be that working mom that I'm working right now, but that working mom that puts what I'm fearful to let go of, or I'm fearful of before my time spent with my kids. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
And so I've kind of traveled a different path where I know, and in this phase like that, as I've been traveling this path over the past 10 months, 11 months, you and I it's been awesome because I see you where I was. Yeah. And I think you see me where you were. Yeah. And I think it's allowed us to have such an appreciation for where the other is. We're just experiencing these things at very different times, where now I'm like, if this gets in the way of my kids at all, I'm not doing it. Yeah. And because I took this leap where I was like, okay, I know God wants me to be home with my kids. This is I have one more year with Maddox left in my house. Yeah. I have 2 years left with Marley. Where the hell has time gone? I don't remember Marley when she was 7. Like, I know. What a horrible, embarrassing thing to admit. I do not remember Maddox and Marley's childhood. Yeah. I remember Cash and Ruby's. Mm-hmm. I do not remember Maddox and Marley's because there was so much going on. And what that says to me is they don't have connected memories with me either. And I had a conversation with Mars. I will say this last year has been so good for me and so good for them. Yeah. And Mars was kind of going through some stuff, and I was sitting in the car with her, and I did break down, and I said, hey, I want you to know that I am really sorry, because I sometimes look at how I've raised Ruby and I realize I did not give that same to you. Yeah. And this is a really hard thing to admit.
But I want you to know this, that I think that's just the path of motherhood.
I know.
Because I was a stay-at-home mom, and I actually have some pretty extraordinary memories, but I raised my last 2 so much better.
Oh, and so this makes me so good to hear.
It has nothing to do, it has nothing to do with me being a stay-at-home mom and you being a working mom. It has everything to do that I raised my first kids at 22, at 24, at 26. And I was so wounded from the trauma of my childhood, Kira, that they just got a shittier mom. And now my son is 19 and he's like, wow, I really wish I could have had you as my mom. I'm like, I know, buddy. I know. I wish I could have been this version for you, but that wasn't who I was. And thank you, Kale. for walking with me as the stressed out, controlling, fear-based mother that I was. But it was always from love. It was always out of protection. It was always because I was trying to do what was right. And I think this is just the path of motherhood. It has nothing to do with you working. It's like we're just better now because we've done our work.
Yeah. I think what's hard for me is, gosh, I don't even know why I'm going into this on here. It's hard for me because I hear you say it was with love and it was with effort.
Yeah.
I think when Maddox and Marley were young, I did not know how to love myself.
Yeah.
Therefore, I did not know how to love anything else.
Yes.
And I have some regret I remember after my first divorce, like there was some dating in there.
Yeah.
That I can't, in hindsight, I am like sick over that I allowed my kids to be exposed to certain types of people. And I'm so grateful for the awareness because I've always been aware, right? I talked about this in an episode a couple of weeks ago where I said that my superpower is that I can love literally anybody. Like, so universe, Heidi, be careful who you put in your orbit because I will love you.
Yeah. I'm the same way, Heidi. That's why I laugh about this.
Like a criminal.
Moving
put
along.
a criminal in my orbit. Yeah. I will find what is lovable about that person. I will
Which
defend,
is a gift.
And it's
a curse.
It's a curse when you have kids to protect.
Yeah.
And that is something I have learned very difficultly over time.
Yeah.
So I fell into Chris, right?
Yeah.
But truth be told, even when I was with him, I did not know who I was.
Yeah.
And I was so scared of not being loved that there was fear. There was still me trying to undo my own childhood trauma. We all have childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And me trying to get love from a man that maybe I didn't feel like I got. My dad loved me, but we all have our own perception of different things, right? And so I worked to earn love to the point of, I brought my kids everywhere and the connection that was seen on Instagram was real or whatever we posted. And also I would be lying if I said that like, I wasn't terrified to not have work be the priority because work meant I was enough and lovable.
Yeah.
Right. And we did some really great things. And, I'm grateful for all the lessons because now there's literally nothing that like, I even had gotten to a point where I was like, okay, even if every single dollar exits my account and I had kind of done the math. I'm like, well, if things keep costing what they're currently costing, this is in February, then by this month, I'm going to be out of money. And I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I believe if I do what I know I'm on this planet to do, which is create these humans, love these humans, nurture these humans, make relationships with them, help them understand the world and take the gifts that I've given to everyone else out there, right? Like I've given my gifts to everyone. Well, what if I give my gifts to my kids?
Yeah.
What if I've developed in the world, these knives that have been sharpened, now I can be like, hey, it's your turn.
Yeah.
And you're first.
Yeah.
And everyone else is extra, right? Like I love everyone listening. And also, what good are my gifts if I'm not using them in my home? What good is my superpower of love if I'm not first loving myself and my kids? Right?
I feel that. And I've watched in my life, like my oldest today, he's actually at a recording studio in Nashville, recording his very first album because he wants to be a musician.
Yeah.
And, all creatives deal with self-doubt, especially musicians. And because he's watched me build what I've built in such a short amount of time, every time he calls me, he listens. He literally, like, I tell him, darkness will always hit you before the light.
Yeah.
The resistance always comes in for your next breakthrough. You have to remember who the hell you are.
Yeah.
And because he's watched me do what I do, he believes me. And so I think there's also this that you probably don't know yet, but your kids have watched you be who you are. And that's actually the proof for when you guide them, they know there is meat behind your words. Like, they've watched you be this in the world. And now they know, like, yeah,
I appreciate
what she
you saying
says,
that.
I know is true. I've watched her be this.
Yeah.
This isn't just something she's rattling off. And I feel like this is important. It's important for us as mothers to not lose who we are in the service of our children. Because if we lose who we are, there is no one showing them who they can be.
I needed this because I'm sitting here and what I've been spewing is literally all of this negative self-talk, and it's judgment. I'm full of judgment for what I did wrong, and that's all that I see. But at the same time, I hear you.
Yeah.
And I know you're right. And this might be because I've said so many times, like, how, with everything I've been through and everything we've been through, how do I have these 4 perfect souls who show up for me and who love me and everyone so deeply and understand and they've always been able to hear me apologize. They've always, and they've forgiven me.
Yeah.
And not only forgiven, but they've like poured into me the way that I have tried to pour into them.
Yeah.
And like, I do feel like I've always appreciated being a mom. I've said this. Sometimes I say, I feel like I appreciate being a mom more than anyone. Yeah. And I think part of the reason why I appreciate my kids, and I historically am not a mean mom. I'm not.
Yeah.
Because I felt so pulled by my duties in the world that I'm like, all I want is to be with those kids. All I have always wanted are my experiences with those kids, where sometimes I'm like, what if I was a stay-at-home mom for all those years? Would I be pulling my hair out and screaming and being like, I don't want to be around my kids. Get out of my house.
Which I definitely had a good decade of that.
And I never had that. I have always wanted, I've always wanted my kids to never leave me. Yeah. I've never had a day. And I have plenty of friends and moms who are like, I just wanted them to turn 18 and leave. And I'm like, all I've ever wanted is to, like, I'm like, how do I have them not leave? Which would then handicap them from who they're meant to be in this world.
I want you to look at this for a second, and maybe we can shift your vision on your life as a mother.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Of like the gift it was to work because it created such a desire.
Yeah.
And I feel like this keeps coming to me, and I don't know how we transition into this, but I feel like in the mess of motherhood, whether you, someone who's listening is, full-time working mom, or a stay-at-home mom, or a single mom, or a grandma raising her grandkids, like wherever you are, there are these, I call them pockets of joy, because I really struggled. I had 5 kids in 10 years at a very young age, and my husband worked all the time. So I raised them alone mostly for a lot of the young years, not as I got older, but the young years.
Yeah.
And I would find these pockets where it felt like time stood still, you know, like the 3 a.m. nursing.
You just, like, I'm closing my eyes right now as you said pockets, and I'm there with that same place.
Right? Like that. It's like dark and the lamp is on, and it's just you and the rocking chair and your baby. And it's it's these moments. Like, motherhood is messy. Motherhood is painful.
Yeah.
Motherhood is filled with grief. Motherhood is filled with loneliness, but there are these pockets. And you actually got to have more pockets because you weren't run down, exhausted. I'm not saying it was better or worse. It's just,
it is what it is.
I'm showing you though
what I can
there's
appreciate.
Magic in what you had, because your time with your kids were all pockets.
I feel that. as soon as you said joy, it brought me back. And I've mentioned this a handful of times to people. When Marley was 9 months old, and I know she was 9 months because it was toward the tail end of me nursing her.
Yeah.
And I remember I would do the, what is it? Oh, it was the night feed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like the baby wise thing or
the
whatever.
dream feed.
Yeah, that's what it was, a dream feed.
Oh.
And that was my absolute favorite thing. I still remember the pink swaddle she had, bright pink swaddle. And I remember sitting on that rocking chair, nursing her. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a moment I need to snapshot. How do I make sure I never, ever, ever, ever forget this? And I've never forgotten it. I still remember exactly how her hair looked. I remember what side she was nursing on. I remember everything. And I remember with Cash and Rubes, they always said, don't let your baby sleep in your bed.
Yeah.
My baby slept on my bed.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I have the best memories of laying and having Cash and Rubes next to me nursing. It's those... it's nursing is a gift.
Yeah.
And I understand nursing is a thing that not every mom has gotten to experience. And so I want to be super sensitive to that.
For sure.
And I guess I say that, and I want to make sure people know I really appreciate that. Like, people are like, how could you do that when your nipples are cracked and bleeding and all that pain?
Yeah.
Was such a gift for me. So when you say, how did I have my babies without an epidural?
Yeah.
That pain was such a gift for me. Even in the moment, I still remember. I remember laboring. I labored in water.
Yeah.
And I remember getting out and having my babies. And it was a gift. It was like I would take this pain over and over again to experience the miracle on the other side. I remember last year, I was like, it's been really hard for me. I don't know if you can relate, but it's been super hard. I was 40 at the time, and seeing that number as I write it was like my clock is ticking. And I don't know that I ever want to be done being a mom. So I'm 40. My son's approaching 18. My daughter's approaching 17. Cash and Rubes are 8 and 11. And the idea of being done, it is probably a good idea to be done. And also, I'm not ready to say I'm done. And so I couldn't bring a child into the world in the circumstances that I was in with so much going on. But I actually strongly contemplated, Kira, freezing my eggs.
Yeah.
Because I want to hold on to the magic that is creation in motherhood.
Yeah.
But then part of me is like, am I like little tree? Is me wanting to freeze my eggs and not let go of the leaves that are turning brown?
Yeah.
Is it stopping me from growing? Am I hindering my growth?
Well, after I had my 5th, and this was, I was a massage therapist, so I did have like a side hustle always. Yeah. It's just my nature.
Oh, yeah, you massage me. Always. Remember that?
Yeah, I was your massage therapist.
That's right.
That's how we stayed friends for all the years. That's the only way we could talk. Life was too busy. So we were like, I'll be your massage therapist, Heidi. But so I always had a side business going on. But really, like motherhood was the only thing I had. If that makes sense. Yeah. Like I didn't have...
it was your identity.
It was my identity. Yeah. And I remember when my little one, Jones, became 1. My husband at the time, I was like, we need to have another one. And he was like, we're not having 6. And I was like, no, we need to have another one. And I remember praying about it. I'm like, well, if he says no, God will surely say yes. And God said no to me. And I threw a fit. Yeah. I was like, God, I'm a good mother. I will bring another baby to this world. And it was because that era for me needed to complete so I could move into other realms of creation. And I say all day long that I help people birth books because I just love birth. And if I can't have 100 babies, we're going to birth some books. Okay. Like birth is, and so I look at it as like, maybe there's another baby for you. And maybe it's just that you're starving for creation.
Yeah.
Because we are divine creators.
Yeah.
And we taste that divine dance when we have babies.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't know where I'm at right now with that.
Yeah.
Because in this last year, the realization that it's God first and me, right? And it's my kids second. I am super clear that in this season of my life, because all of us moms have seasons, and I want everyone listening to know that whatever season you're in, whether you are in a mothering, nurturing season where you're home with your kids, or if you're in a working season, whatever season you're in is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Do not let the world or somebody else that you're comparing yourself to say otherwise.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And God knows, and only you know, and only God knows what is right for you, no matter the judgment of other people. But in this season for me, I am super clear that I am to pour into Maddox, Marley, Cash, and Ruby. I'm super clear about that. And I am also clear that if I were to consider another baby, I mean, a lot of things would have to change for that to happen.
Right.
But it would have to be with me feeling fulfilled and not complete, but like I'd have to feel like I'm not pulling anything from them.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for me. Right.
I know it is. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 41, we're 41 years young. Some days I'm like, that's freaking old. And then other days, I actually was at my OB, her office the other day, and I was like, what's the oldest you've seen a woman have a baby? Just so I know, I still
Yeah.
And she's like, I just birthed a baby with a 46-year-old yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm good.
It's hard. I'll speak for me. It's hard to release the idea that we're not going to bring more babies to the earth.
That's like, it's final. It's the finality of it.
It is. And there's so much.
Like the roller coaster ride's almost over.
But it's like, but every time I feel that, I'm like, oh, but my oldest is 19. Give him like 5 more years and I will for sure have a grandbaby that I get to hold and I get to love. And, my greatest time of my life was that decade when I had a 10-year-old down to a newborn. Like it actually was my greatest decade, even though I was exhausted and I was impatient and I was all over the place. It was my most beautiful time.
Yeah.
And so it is painful to be like, oh, but it will rebirth again.
Yeah.
We have grandbabies one day. It will rebirth.
Seasons.
And we get to love on those babies. It'll be here. But there's something here on when you say seasons, and I think we get to touch on the seasons of the mothers whose children have left.
I think that's a really important one because I'm not there, but you are. And I have heard, like, I am dreading that day. I am dreading the day Maddox's room is empty and the day that our kitchen table does not have his laughter. His humor, I should say our laughter and his humor. And I'm dreading the dynamic shift. Yeah. And I watched you go through this with Kale.
Yeah.
And you said to me, no one prepares you for this.
No one prepares you for the grief. I remember it was a month before he left and I had worked my ass off to get him to go to Nashville. Yeah. Like I had pulled strings. I had worked with my brother to get Kale a sales gig in Nashville so he could get to Nashville and start at least being in the music scene. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like, and I told him every day, like, you're not staying here. You are too great. Your gifts are too brilliant to sit and work at Albertsons in Meridian, Idaho.
Yeah.
Like, no way.
Yeah.
I will fight like hell for you to do this. So I was pushing him out the door for his dreams. But 4 weeks before he left, every night he would go up to our we had like a recording studio / office, and he would play the guitar every night. And I remember walking up the stairs and dropping to my knees, weeping. Like, this is the last time that he's going to be in my home. And it would be like these memories of how he would play me guitar every morning at breakfast when he was 11. And all these memories would flash by, and it would be like, no one tells you about this grief. And I'd walk by him in the hallway and I would weep. And I would be driving and I'd look in the car and see all 5 of their heads and I would weep. And it was like, it was so grievous.
Yeah.
And then I watched him move to Nashville. I watched him drive across the country in his little beat up car filled with every music equipment I bought him. I have watched him rise.
Yeah.
I have watched him face his fears, and all the grief has left. And I am so damn proud of that boy. I'm so proud of him, and I am so grateful he left, because I see this is the path.
So this is awesome for you, right?
Yeah.
Because you see your child thriving.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I have fear still.
Yeah.
Because I'm not there yet. And there's this like, have I done enough? Right?
Yeah.
Like, will everything be okay? I am a hover mom. Like, if I want to protect, I want to do for my kids everything, because I don't want them to fall. Like, no one wants to see their kids fall and get hurt. Like, some of the hardest moments were hearing my kids come home and say that they were mistreated at school or something. I mean, hard. I've had some really, or to have one of my kids tell me at one point that they didn't have one single friend. Under tears.
That's Presley right now. It's the hardest thing.
Kira, I do not think I've ever cried so hard or had so much grief and sorrow in my life, because what happens when children don't have friends is they then gravitate toward the only people who will accept them, which oftentimes is not a good crowd. Yeah. And I tried to fix it, and I had to realize that was actually one of my big moments where I'm like, I'm stepping out of work. Yeah. Because this is such an incremental and crucial point in my children's lives. And if they don't have friends, they need their mom. Yeah. Yeah. And letting God take the reins. And instead of me arranging, and I still sometimes will call moms and be like, hey, what's so-and-so doing? You know, this kid is, because I'm trying to arrange friends, because that friend circle is so important. But the grief that comes from knowing that your child is in pain, at least for me, there is absolutely nothing that compares to that. And so now, for me, looking back at the road that I traveled, if any of my kids go through the pain that I went through, I don't know how I will stay silent. And also, I know I needed to travel it, but I also, like, I don't want them to feel that, and they need to.
That's the thing.
And they need to.
And I'll tell you this. I was supposed to speak on this stage in September. Like, it was like hundreds of people. It was like the perfect opportunity. And God said no.
Really?
And I was like, I argued for like 2 months. And then I finally called and I canceled because God said no. And as soon as I canceled, God said, Kel needs you. So I booked my flight to Nashville and I got there and Kel was homeless. His car was filled with everything I bought him. His TV, his music equipment. He was living on someone's couch. And it was because his sales gig ended and he didn't have a new place to move into. But that was hard for me to see. Yeah. And yes, I did help him get an apartment. And yes, I bought him food and all the things that we do. Yeah. But that moment, he needed to feel it. Yeah. And the truth is I don't want my kids to go through the pain I've been through. I've been through a hell of a lot of pain. But that pain has been alchemy. Yeah. That pain is what's made me who I am. Your pain is why we're sitting on this couch.
I know.
So it's this very hard paradox for us as mothers to love them so deeply that we never want them to have pain. and understanding
knowing that they need it.
That the pain is the alchemy that changes them into the human beings we want them to become.
Yeah.
That's so hard. Motherhood is crazy.
Yeah. No, you are absolutely right with that. And I know I wouldn't be who I am without all of the stuff that I've gone through. I had a friend of mine who has kids and grandkids. She had said to me, you know, we talk a lot about children leaving the house. She's given me tips, you know, she's like, hey, when Maddox leaves, do not go in his room. She kind of gave me these tips, like do not under any circumstances go in his room. She also said similar. She said, when you're around your kids, celebrate them and that they are ready to leave. Like, do not let them see you grieving, right? Let them see you celebrating who they are. Then she said that the hardest thing as a parent is to not give advice when your kids don't ask, but it is the thing that you must do. Only give advice when they ask for advice. She said, so when they come to you, or you see them living their life a way that you know is going to lead to a path of pain, she said, it is my job as a mom to love my children and just to be there and to listen and to zip my lips and not give any feedback until they say, Mom, what do you think? And she said, sometimes they don't ask for that advice or that feedback for a long time. And sometimes they travel that path and they fall and they get hurt.
Yeah.
And then they learn and then they stand back up. And when they fall and get hurt enough and they know that I love them, they come back to me and they say, Mom, what do you think? And then they listen.
Yeah.
But when I think about that with my dad and my mom, when they told me what to do, I was like, I'm doing the opposite.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I understand my job and I'm a control freak. It's with my kids and everything in my home, right? So my job, I should say my work is going to be in learning to let them be who they are.
Yeah.
In letting them step out of their cage and fall. Oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do it. But also remembering that that pain will create them.
I've watched that this year because my divorce will be finalized. It will be a year, December 22nd. But our marriage ended about a year and a half ago. And so it's been a year of a lot of pain. And I spent my whole life as a mother trying to help my kids not have pain. And I watched it do something in our home.
Really?
And what I've watched pain do is that if we allow ourselves to sit in it together, and that doesn't mean we're talking about it, but it means we're not making it wrong. If we can sit in it, it's like truth is finally free.
Okay, I love what you just said. Because and I briefly talked about it in a past episode, how when I went to that retreat, like it was some major epiphanies about me as a mom. And, you know, I was raised in a culture, in a world, I think most of us were, where unknowingly parents made feelings not okay.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They didn't know.
No,
they didn't know. It's like they were teaching us
best
to be good. And because that was the goal, like be good, behave, listen, don't cry.
Yeah.
Right. Don't throw a tantrum. Don't do any of these things. So what did I do as a parent? To Maddox and Marley was like, don't cry. No, don't cry. Wait, why are you crying? No. Be happy or I'll, whatever. I'll take this away from you if you aren't happy. And so it did not let them, it didn't validate their pain. They felt their pain. I did not validate their pain. And with Cash and Ruby, I have learned very differently.
Yeah.
And especially more so recently. So we do this thing at night where we actually do feelings cards.
Oh,
we have emotion cards. Kira, I got to show them to you.
Yeah, I need those.
Every day there's an emotion.
Wow.
And it talks about what the emotion is. And then it says, like the next thing says, so like say, we had sad the other day. It was like sad seal or something like that. And it's like sad is da 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 da. And then it says number 1. So then you ask your child, and we do it with Cash and Ruby, tell me about a time you were sad.
Oh. Heidi, that's beautiful.
And Ruby was sad. Like usually, one of the two kids is feeling that emotion at the time. Like we did disappointed the other day, disappointed dinosaur. I don't even know. And Ruby was so upset because she didn't get to choose the cards. Cash did. So I was like, okay, disappointed, da 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 da. And then I said, okay, tell me about a time you were disappointed. And she was super disappointed. So she's like, I'm disappointed now. And it gives cues on the bottom of the card for how a parent can validate and hold space for your child's disappointment, for their anger, for their sadness, for their fear. What was the one the other day? I don't know. It was almost like disconnected. Like every feeling.
These cards.
And then it says, where do you feel the emotion in your body?
Oh, where did you find this? This is brilliant.
At the retreat. I bought them at the retreat.
Can I buy them or do I have to go to the retreat?
You can get them online.
Done.
I'm actually going to.
We need to have them in this.
It's amazing.
Because this is something, and I want to point out what you said. It's not that our parents did it on purpose. It was not something that they were taught. So it's like a language. I would never just speak Spanish. Why? No one's taught me Spanish. Our parents didn't have that. And I don't even have this.
I was saying, do not beat yourself up for what you feel like you didn't do right. Like you were meant to be the kind of parent or mother that you were in that moment to teach you a lesson, to teach your kids, right? Like every single way we are is a teacher, right? And when, at least for me, and I've had someone tell me this over and over and over and over and over, and I need to hear it every time. When, wherever we are is exactly what it's supposed to be. And I have to be reminded of that. And I am a better mom in this moment than I was before because I stumbled. Right. We have to learn.
Yeah. That's so true. There was this moment, I was hiking in Sedona 2 weeks ago, and I'm hiking up to watch the sunrise. And there was this 4-year-old. His mom had taken him. Bless her heart. She wanted him to see that sunrise. I could feel her. I used to be you. No longer. But he was throwing the biggest tantrum. And she was so overwhelmed. And I walked by her and I said, I have 5 kids. And the one thing I know is that these are just seasons. This is just a quick little season right here. And you're doing so great. Because when we're in it, we feel like the biggest failure on the planet. Like, why is my kid throwing a tantrum? And I remember my first 3, I was so hard on them. Like, oh, they're going to turn out horrible. Look at what their behavior is. And then the last 2, I was like, oh yeah, we're right on time. Age 3, I got this. This is for the next year. It's no big deal. Throw tantrums all day. It's like all of a sudden it becomes, but it's because it's the language that we understood then. You don't learn that on your first baby, even second baby.
No.
And so I think it's this time is our teacher. And time creates compassion. And that's one thing that we may have as mothers is compassion for others. But we rarely have compassion for ourselves.
Oof. I'm going to add to that. I think one of the reasons why we struggle to have compassion with ourselves, you were talking about this before we recorded, is because of who we compare ourselves to, right? Like I was reading you a note that a friend had sent me before this started. She said, our moms could only compare themselves against moms who lived close to them back in the day. Who they interacted with regularly. She said, today, social media has made comparison an easy trap to fall into as a mom. Like we aren't just comparing ourselves to the people on our street. We're comparing ourselves to these moms who for their living are paid, to curate their lives and make it look beautiful on social media. Like that's what, like, it's not only like, it's, they might be great moms, but you don't even know if they're great moms.
No.
All you know, if you see someone whose life looks amazing on social media, all you really know is they are damn good at making things look good.
Did you see that reel? I know I know our time is almost up here, but I have to say I saw this reel and it was this mom and I kept thinking it was going to be like a funny one, you know, like where people, no, it was just actual legit where like she was like showing her children getting out of bed and kissing them. And then she picks this beautiful blue dress that's like off the shoulders. And then she makes muffins and throws an egg up in the air and catches it on a knife.
You're lying.
I have to show it to you. She catches it on a knife and I kept waiting like,
where's the punchline?
Where's the real stuff? Like, let's see it. Let's see your dirty hamper. Let me see your laundry room. You know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't. It was just this whole curated thing. And I was like, afterwards, I was like, why does this hurt in my body? Let me tell you why it hurts in my body. Because I haven't cleaned a toilet in 3 years. I hired this out.
I know.
I cannot keep it up.
Kira, like, I'm that way with the grocery store. I hate it. I don't cook regularly.
No, last week, do you know
I feel like a failure.
Last week, 7 days I have my kids. 7 days was a new restaurant every day. They were like, what is this magical week? And I said, let me tell you about this magical week. I can barely keep my head above water. Popeyes or McDonald's? Which one is it tonight, friends? Name it. Magical week is here. But like, really, we live at a time where it is the most ridiculous experience to be a mother and see everyone like, oh, well, look at her. She took her kids to the park. Well, guess what? I wonder what she looked like for the rest of the, like we have to get real. Like we have to show that like motherhood is painful and it is
chaos.
It's chaos and it is messy. And like sometimes we have poop on our shirts and sometimes we don't.
Well, spit up. I remember my shoulders were stained with spit up for the first 10 years of motherhood.
Or like your boobs are leaking and you have no idea. And like I remember
bleeding through.
Just like the ridiculousness. And then at the same time, we're like, and then
our kids are pooping all over the place. Yeah.
Pooping everywhere. I remember like literally I had 3 kids
wrecking
in diapers.
my cars now. Like it's like Marley had a hit and run. A hit and run. Like, that is motherhood. On the same night, Marley had a hit and run. Ruby was so insanely sick. I should not be laughing about this because I'm not laughing.
Gosh.
She came home from dance at 9:30 freaking p.m.
Oh my gosh.
Was ghost white.
Oh gosh.
I'm like trying to shower because I have not showered all day.
Oh, yeah.
At 10 p.m. I'm trying to shower.
Yeah.
I look like a train wreck. Ruby's sitting on the toilet in my bathroom.
Oh.
She falls off of the toilet.
No.
Faints.
Oh no.
Messes herself.
Oh gosh.
And because she had fainted. And I called 911. Like I was like, I can't have cops at my house anymore. That was also the same day, not cops, but government officials or whatever you call them. Medical professionals. Not government officials. We don't have the mayor at our house. I called the city of Gilbert. They got him on over.
They came on over.
But also,
was it the night the mayor came for dinner?
So I have the cops show up at my house for a hit and run that Marley had. Then I leave to go take Marley or Ruby to dance. This is before she was sick. Then the cops show up at my door again. I get a call from Maddox going, cops are here. We went around and we were spraying people out of our car. I thought I was spraying my friend with a water gun, but it wasn't my friend. They want to talk to you. And I'm like, I can't. And the cop was like, was someone just at your house for a hit and run? I'm like, yep. And then I come home, Ruby faints. I'm 911.
Oh my God.
I'm like my bathroom is full of paramedics. We're at the hospital. That is motherhood. For the entire night, we're at the hospital. That is motherhood.
It is.
And I actually have to laugh.
I know. You know what we need to do? Not today.
I love that Marley just walked in. Hi, Mars. You're so cute.
I know.
Do you remember that day?
Literally the cutest. She is the cutest. Yeah.
She said she's laughing. She says that was the last day of school. And then Mars, come over here. What did I tell you about your hit and run? Like what, how did I want,
you weren't even mad.
Come here. I want you to talk into the microphone because they can't hear. Okay. When the cops showed up, let me just tell you, when the cops showed up, I honestly thought the cops were there for Maddox.
I did too. I ran downstairs and I was like, oh, Maddox, you're in trouble. And then they're like, So, do you guys know, what did they say?
They said, yeah, we were like, oh, Maddox is busted. Because I knew this was happening. And they're like, they said one of your cars was involved in an incident. And I'm like, what the heck did Maddox do? And I thought it was them spraying water guns. And then they're like, a car was sideswiped in this parking lot with this truck. And I'm like, and I like look at Marley. I'm like, was this you?
It was.
That was Marshmallow Dream Bar she just got, like mother, like daughter. With but a little Marley, hold on. There's always food on the face, and I love that about you. But then Mars, how did I respond?
Wait. What did you say again? You weren't even that mad because you said, I did this too when I was younger.
Because I did. I was like, how can I be mad? I actually sat there and laughed. I'm like, my dad is up in heaven right now being like, you are getting a dose of your own medicine. I had a hit and run.
Did he pay for yours?
I don't remember.
He did. Sounds like he did. So it sounds like this is you wanting to pay for mine and me not having to pay it off. And then maybe when I'm older, my daughter, the same thing will happen. Then I'll pay my dues.
You haven't paid me a dime for it.
I've worked 20 hours.
Okay.
That's
20 hours. $200.
Yeah.
And we got about 1,800 to go.
Or I'll just,
yeah, you can.
This is so good. Marley, what a day for you to come in.
That was perfect.
This is our episode of Motherhood.
I heard it, I was like, oh.
This is the beauty. And I think we should do a whole episode once on like all of the wild memories of motherhood. That's what we need to do. Because I got some good ones that would just make people laugh their heads off. And you know what? It would help them remember their pockets of joy.
Yeah, I also hope moms can do the same thing we're doing right now. Like the things that feel so heavy in the moment, knowing that when time passes and that heaviness is lifted, because that heaviness for me comes from expectation of who I need to be, or maybe how others will see the situation. Where when I just let the moment happen, when I'm just like, hey, this is just how it is. My kid sprayed people with a water gun and now the cops are at my door. I can either be, he had to learn a lesson from that. That's for damn sure. I don't go, but also to be like, this is what raising teens is like.
So to wrap this up, here's the thought that's coming to me. So what if instead of us trying to curate the forest of motherhood,
make those trees grow in a straight line,
make the trees be straight, make all the red flowers together and all the yellow flowers. What if we're able to just fully surrender and allow the forest of our children to be exactly as they need to be?
And have gratitude. It's not just on this week, but every week and every day. For exactly what motherhood is. Because here's the thing. We're not always going to have kids in our home. And the things that drove us nuts back then, or that drive us nuts now, are going to be the things that we miss and cherish and love, like Cash and Ruby fighting. I'm going to miss that.
I know.
Marley hitting cars. I'm going to miss it. I am. I'm going to miss these moments that I just am. I want to read a quote to end.
Okay.
I feel like this is a really great quote.
Yeah.
So this quote, it's by William Ross Wallace. The hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. I read that for the first time today. The hand that rocks the cradle. That's our hands. Our hands rock the cradle.
Yeah.
These are the hands that rule the world. Because we are, with these hands and with this body, we are creation machines.
Yeah.
We are creating the next generation. We're creating the humans that essentially are our future.
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful.
This was maybe one of my favorite episodes.
Me too. I think we say that every time.
I know. Oh, you guys, I just want to thank everyone listening for being here with us today. Kira, I mean, I like doing podcasts on my own. I love doing podcasts with you because what it is, this is actually, you had said, it's like a dessert. Like it is a treat for me to be able to have this conversation with you, period. You fill my soul. Like we are igniters of each other.
I know.
And this lights me up. If I could do this every day, I would do this.
I know.
Like there's no part of what we just did that feels like a job or feels like work.
No.
It's just love and light.
This is dessert.
Yeah.
So round 2 soon.
Yeah. Guys, I love you. Thank you for being here. I see you. I feel you. I hear you. And to all of the moms this week, and remember, you don't have to be a mom to be a mom, right? Know that you are supported and you are not alone in whatever you are going through. And just a reminder to look for those pockets of joy, the little bits of magic that you have to be grateful for, no matter how they look. Yeah. Because someday they'll just be memories. Love you guys.